For spring break this year, Bethany and I headed to the Czech Republic for a trip to Prague. We were two girls on a mission. There was a city to conquer. Our first stop was the Charles Bridge, one of Prague's most famous landmarks. 30 statues depicting religious scenes line the historic bridge. The bridge was packed with artists and vendors selling their crafts. As has become custom with the girls in our London flat, we took a mid-air picture on the bridge. For the rest of the day, we wandered around the Malestrana. Beautiful architecture surrounded us. A stop into this church gave us an example of Baroque architecture at its finest. We didn't really care for the ladies' bathroom pink marble, though. Everywhere we looked, there was some charming feature, like colored houses or small parks. Here is Bethany next to a yellow wall. We spent a lot of time in the many Jewish synagogues in Prague. This cemetery is the only place where Jews in Prague were allowed to bury their dead for many years. As a result, over 200,000 graves are in this small graveyard. Frank Kafka and Mozart references were abundant throughout the city. After our morning of synagogues, we wandered in the city, snapping photographs like hard-working tourists. When we stumbled upon the open-air market, we couldn't help but sample these delicious strawberries, quite a good investment. While wandering through a park, we came across this ruin. There weren't any signs indicating its history, so we made up some stories about it instead. Here Bethany sits on some steps taking a break. We did so much walking. The old town square has a famous clock that charts solar and lunar activity, among other things. Wenceslas Square is a lot like Oxford Circus in London. After several botched attempts, we finally found the John Lennon Wall. Painted by a Mexican art student, the John Lennon Wall was covered with some really incredible graffiti art. Despite the rain and cold, Bethany, her dad Tim, and I hiked to the top of Petrin Hill. It gave the best views of the city. The observation tower is modeled after the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Unfortunately, it was closed the day we went. On the way down, we wound through an older neighborhood. Eventually, we found ourselves in the middle of a marathon. We had a lot of admiration for the people who are willing to run so far in the cold. On our final day, we went to Prague Palace and St. Vitus Cathedral. There was some really beautiful stained glass in the cathedral. Just before we left the airport, we stopped in Old Town Square, where an Easter festival had its opening day. Chowing down on fair food was as close as we got to a good American hot dog. After our wonderful trip, we were really tired and ready to head back to London. Unfortunately, our flight got delayed for 7 hours. Between talking, surfing on the sidewalks, playing cards, and taking ridiculous photographs, we somehow kept ourselves entertained. All part of the fun of travel, I suppose. We can't wait for our next trip.